And I'm sorry if anybody does find this difficult, but I think it's important that this is spoken about, because if I had made these decisions and followed through, we wouldn't be having this conversation today.
So today's guest, we're changing track a little bit, because those of you that have joined me on coaching conversations in the past will know that, traditionally I interview coaches who are already qualified. But today I'm interviewing someone who is currently studying with us here at the Coaching Academy, and is on her own journey to become a qualified coach with the Coaching Academy. So today's guest is a lady called Ruth Webster, and Ruth is a well-being and mental health advocate who has the most incredibly inspiring and powerful story. Now, I have to share with you, I've gone goosebumpy already because I know the story. And I'm really pleased that Ruth has agreed to join me today and in this conversation, where I truly believe that all of us are going to take so much from. And before I introduce her and we get started, I just want to say, there are times in our lives when we cross paths with someone and they leave a mark on our lives in a positive way. And this has really been true for me where Ruth is concerned. As many of you know, I take an active interest in our students here at the Coaching Academy. And when I came across Ruth when she came on my DISC training, and I started sort of seeing her on different coaching conversations and things, there was just something about Ruth. There was something about her presence that caused me to stop and really want to connect. Now, I think it's because Ruth is an incredibly authentic human being. She's honest and open. And I mean that in every sense of the word. Lots of people call themselves authentic, but true authenticity, I think, is something that we don't need to work at. And Ruth really is that. So I feel very pleased and privileged to have Ruth with us today so that she can share her story on how coaching has supported her journey and her personal development and everything that has led her to being here today. So this is going to be a true and very honest story from the heart. And so it gives me the greatest of pleasures to welcome really warmly lovely Ruth Webster. Welcome, Ruth.
Hi, Sharon. Thank you. Wow. That was lovely. Thank you so much. And I absolutely felt the same connection. I think it's because we're both eyes. The minute I saw your face and heard your voice on the screen on that DISC profile. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. Well, I'm going to start where we generally start in coaching conversations, but I guess it will be a little bit different. So let's take it right back to the beginning. So tell me and everybody else here a little bit about you and why, first of all, you chose to train to be a coach.
So I had a normal upbringing, a lovely childhood, left school at 17, and I went to work as a lifeguard. My mum and dad said to me, the only reason that you can leave school and not do a 6 year is if you go and get a job. So that's exactly what I did. I worked as a lifeguard for 15 years, and I've always had this wanting to help people just in day-to-day life, but I felt there was something more pulling me in a certain direction. So at the age of 30, I trained to be a driving instructor. And after a year of qualifying, I started up my own business, which I was running for the last 17 years, but I closed the doors on it in January last year because my heart is 100% in coaching. And coaching is something that until a few years ago, I didn't have a clue what it was. A coach to me was the people that taught me basketball or netball at school. Didn't have a clue what coaching was. And can I be honest that now, only by studying and learning and progressing through this, I'm only really starting to understand what coaching is all about. So I was brought to coaching by, well, actually, I think coaching came to me. I had to think about this last night. Why did I choose coaching? Coaching was presented in my path through a connection. I think you'll probably speak about this maybe later on. Through a chain of people that I came across the Coaching Academy, went to the 2-day free event, definitely on the first day, within 5 hours, I knew coaching was for me. I knew I wanted to do this. I loved the people that were in the room. I loved the speakers that were there. It was just the most amazing weekend. So came home from that and signed up to coaching.
And the rest is history, but we're going to go through that today, definitely, for sure. Wonderful, thank you. Now, I'm going to take us back a little bit. So that people get a real feel for you and ultimately, which will ultimately become your niche. But I want to sort of rewind back a little bit. Now you have a social media presence with an incredibly huge following. So those of you that don't follow Ruth, she has a big and very, very loyal following. Now, you've openly shared about your history and your life's journey to where you are today, really openly on your social media platforms. And what you have really openly and honestly shared is your battle with severe depression over 30 years. And the times where you were in an incredibly dark place with suicidal thoughts. Mm-hmm. But now you find yourself in the strongest place you've been. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so back when I was probably around about 20, my mum was a nurse, and I remember saying to her, is there something, an illness, a disease that makes you want to cry all the time? And she said yes. And I honestly hadn't heard of depression. Depression to me was just being sad. So she explained bits and pieces about it. I went to see a lovely GP. I was put on medication, Prozac at the time. So this is over 30 years ago. And my journey through my mental health deteriorated. Medication worked for a short time, then it didn't. I was in and out of work. I had to move back with my parents. It felt as if I became more depressed the longer things went on and the more medication I was put on. At its peak, I was on 9 pills a day. I was on mood stabilizers. I was on antidepressants. I was living with my parents. I was in a catatonic state. I had no quality of life. I remember lying on the couch for hours on end watching Tom and Jerry cartoons. I didn't want to speak to anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. And
take your time, Ruth.
In that moment, and for anybody watching this, I am okay. I want to talk about this. I did not want to be alive. I couldn't stand the pain that I was in mentally. I couldn't stand everybody else round about me who was suffering, watching me and feeling so very, very helpless. And I was also diagnosed, which I now know wrongly, and I said that from the start, I was diagnosed as manic depressive, which the modern terminology is bipolar. And I was adamant that wasn't what I was. I have a vibrant, full of life personality. I have from a child, and I honestly believed in my heart of hearts that that's who I was. I wasn't this manic depressive on these highs and lows. And at my lowest point, I twice chose to end my life. And I'm sorry if anybody does find this difficult, but I think it's important that this is spoken about, because if I had made these decisions and followed through, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. So I want people to know that there is a life after mental health, and there is so much hope after mental health. I won't go into the details. I don't think it's appropriate maybe for this conversation. But in the moments that I was about to end my life, my parents flashed into my mind, and I knew that I could never, ever do that and have my mum and dad punish themselves, wondering why they couldn't stop me doing what I was doing. But from somebody who's been in that place, if anybody has ever lost somebody to suicide or knows of somebody, can I just share with you that there is sometimes nothing anybody else can do. When you're in that place, it does not matter how much you are loved, how popular you are, how many wonderful things you have in your future. You just do not want to be here anymore. So I didn't make that choice, and I am so glad today, because my life has just, I can't, we'll talk about it as this conversation goes on, but my life has just gone to the most amazing place. So Sharon, stop me if I'm going on too long. So I still had suicidal thoughts. When you're depressed, they're there. They were with me actually probably up until about 5 years ago. They just lingered in the background. I knew I was never going to take action on them. I think once you've been to that deep, dark place, I don't think you can go any lower. I think end of life is the last place you'll ever go. And I honestly believe now that I will never go back there, and I will never, ever suffer like that again. So my battle was now to survive and live and prove to myself that I was not manic depressive. And to a lot of people, they thought this was a bit crazy, but I also wanted to prove that I could live a life depression free. It has taken me 25 years to do that, but today I can honestly say, hand on heart, depression is there. It lives far, far in the background for me. I am now nearly 15 years unmedicated, and over 10 years since I spoke to a psychiatrist or counsellor. And that makes me so proud today to sit here and say that, because it's been a long, hard battle, but I now truly see why it was worth the fight.
Ruth, thank you. You know, we've had a conversation. I know your story, and yeah, it's just so important that we both agree that, you know, this is a story that needs to share for others to hear, to know that, you know, there is that sort of step forward for everybody. Just to say, there's just so much love coming in for you in the chat box, which I knew.
Thank you, everybody. I'm not reading anything just now. Thank you.
So you've had an incredible journey, and if you don't mind me sharing, and we've already had permission and we know exactly where we're sort of going with all of this, an incredibly powerful story. And one of the other things that you also battled with, which potentially could have been sort of one of the many triggers, was your relationship with food.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about that, and then perhaps how that all came together in 2015, where you were starting your incredible journey to fight back.
Normal relationship with food as far as I can see up until the age of 17. But I also think that's potentially, I've always battled with, did depression make me eat, or did having a battle with food make me depressed? I now, so far down the line, believe that depression was probably there from the day I was born. I don't know the scientific behind it, but I think it was there. I think it was inevitable. And I think maybe I can reflect back on things in these early years choices I made, decisions I made, actions I took, that I think it was the depression starting to sort of raise its head. And my journey with food has, like many people, snowballed. Put on a little bit of weight, lost a little bit of weight, gained more weight, and it's just been this constant loop. And at my heaviest 5 years ago, I weighed 28 stone, and I was in fear of my life. I was heading towards 50. I knew the medical side of it. It wasn't the vanity side. I don't need a six pack. I don't need bulging biceps. It'd be lovely if I had them. Don't need them. I needed to look after myself, and I was desperately trying to do that, but I felt like I was getting nowhere. And I had done all the crazy cabbage soup diets, the let's not eat for a week diets, and none of them work. But again, I think the same as around my mental health, I felt there had to be an answer. I felt there had to be a way forward. I didn't actually believe it was just around following a plan. I felt that you have to, and I still feel this today, you have to correct your mind. You have to understand why you eat, what triggers you eat, and you need to learn that so that you can be kinder to yourself in these moments where you do maybe relapse a little bit and gain a little bit of weight. But I was a 100% or nothing type of person. It either works perfectly or it's a catastrophe for me. And that's something that coaching has helped me change as well. So in 2015, I stumbled across Instagram, the wonderful Mr. Joe Wicks, the body coach. And I'm sure many of you have heard about him. And to cut a long story shortish, I loved Joe's ethos. I loved his personality. He was vibrant, full of life. He seemed authentic. He had massive, beautiful portions of food on a plate, and he said that these would help you get lean and be fitter. And I just loved that because I love food and I will always love food. So I followed Joe's plan. I then carried on a little bit longer and did what was the SES plan back in 2016-17. And I lost 11 stone in weight, which was incredible. It was amazing. It was easy. I felt the best I've ever felt in my life. I had so much energy. And Joe and I kept in touch. We've become friends since then. That's his words. I'm delighted he said that. I see him that way as well. And I decided that I was in such a strong place mentally and physically. It was time for me to give something back. So I don't know what my family and friends actually thought. I can imagine when I announced that I was going to walk from Edinburgh to London and raise money for Mind the Mental Health charity. So I had been walking 10 minutes a day around the block with my wonderful dog, Max, a black lab, and we built that up. We built it up to walking a mile, walking 3 miles, 5 miles, until probably 3 months before the actual charity walk date, the start date, I walked 31.5 miles in under 10 hours. And that still to this day blows my mind that I was able to do that.
So just to stop you there, Ruth, so you went from 28 stone to losing 11 stone. So it's huge, from not doing any exercise and just starting off, the coaching mindset, deciding, right, I need to set myself a target and a goal and an outcome, to walking from 10 minutes a day to walking that
1.5 miles
in
under 10 hours.
Wow. Wow.
And I did the charity walk. I did it in 14 days, 397 miles. I did it with a group of very good friends. I had an individual walker on each day, but I didn't manage to do every mile. And I learned so much on that journey because I was underprepared. That 31.5 miles was amazing, but it's different when you've got to push that out for 14 days. But I learned to lean on others, which I'm not very good at sometimes. I learned to allow myself to take a step back and let others do things to help me. I learned I learned that I am fiercely determined and I am fiercely stubborn, because on the one day that I couldn't walk, I still got out of that car, and with my bandaged feet, because I thought I was going to lose a toe at one point, I walked a mile, and I think that might have been the turning point that allowed me to continue in the rest of the walk. So we raised £12,000 for Mind the Mental Health charity, and that was probably one of the biggest. You mentioned about a butterfly earlier, and that was my turning point. I couldn't speak to you at the beginning, but that was my turning point. I thought that my transformation would be a physical one, and that was going to be it. It wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was a mental shift. It was a change, and it's the change that I still know today that has allowed me to now accept that although I lost that 11 stone, there has been a catalogue of events in my life that have tested me to the point that back in the day, the Ruth that wanted to end her life would have never dealt with us. She would never have been able to cope with it. And then for all of us, COVID hit. And I hope you find the humour in this, but I ate my way through COVID. That was my coping mechanism. I loved it. I loved it at the time. I actually embraced, I know it's awful because it was an awful time, and I know people's mental health suffered, but I loved the simplicity of life, the quietness of the world, only meeting a few people when I was out walking the dog, being able to take time out for me. But the downside was, yes, I've gained quite a few stone, but we'll deal with that in the next few years. That's fine. And I wouldn't have been able to laugh about that back in the day, because that would have been a big problem for me. Right, stop.
Not at all, not at all. I mean, there's just so much there, Ruth, that that you're sharing, and it just sort of comes back to what I really loved. What you said there was the talking about the it wasn't a physical transformation for you, and I think so many of us, and for our clients as well, are looking potentially for a physical transformation, whether that be confidence, standing up in front of the room and all of that. But what you said is so powerful, because the transformation actually that we're all seeking, whether we realize it or not, lies up here, doesn't it? And so that fits so well to what I wanted to ask you about next. Was you mentioned to me that throughout that journey, when we spoke before we came live, that you met and left behind your black dog. Tell me more about that.
For anybody that doesn't know, the terminology black dog is associated with depression, because I'm deviating slightly here. I've always referred to my depression as somewhere over the rainbow, because for me, my land of Oz is the life that I live now. And my depression lived with Dorothy on that farm in the black and white, lost in her life, and feeling very alone and very confused. But the black dog terminology has been known for years. And I have a tattoo, which might not be shown here, which is my black dog, because this was Max, my black Labrador, who I sadly had to say goodbye to last year. But I have some of his ashes tattooed into my wrist, so he's with me every day. He was part of my journey in the training up to that charity walk. Max walked thousands of training miles with me. He listened to me. I got him not long after weeks after my dad had passed away back in 2008. He listened to me in some of my darkest days. He never judged me. He was always by my side. He just understood me. But on the charity walk, I had asked my brother to find the midway point, so that we could do a little celebration to say at least we're halfway there now. And this is without a word of a lie. The guy that was walking with me that day, he messaged him and he said, just bring Ruth here. And he didn't tell me where it was. And I have a picture of it. And the pub that was on the halfway point was called the Black Dog. And I remember walking towards that and seeing it, and I just completely broke down, because I am a massive believer that life guides you in the right direction, but you've got to open your mind, you've got to open your heart, you've got to take the tough times and you've got to learn from them. And if you keep going and keep turning up and doing the best that you can do every single day, even on your hardest days, then I promise you, I honestly believe you will get to where you need to be and want to be in life.
So powerful. And it's interesting, isn't it? What is presented to us when we have that sort of, you know, that space to be able to sort of take that on board. And just, yeah, just an incredibly powerful story, Ruth, around, you know, your journey and your transformation, and leaving part of that behind on your journey, and your journey sort of moving you forward. And whether you realized it or not at the time, it's that coaching mindset that I guess has now brought you to training to be a professional coach. Now, through meeting Joe, people here may or may not know, but our CEO, Bev James, also is Joe's literary manager. So she does, you know, she's been looking after him as a manager for a really long time. And so, of course, through that, Ruth, you met the lovely Bev, of course. Yeah. So when you told your story, you told me how coaching has really helped you to find your why and your passion. And you said you completely know why coaching is for you. So what is it that you believe that coaching has given you now you're on that journey to train to be a professional coach?
I think I honestly believe I honestly believe that I was always meant to help people. I taught people to drive, but I didn't just teach them to drive. I know I connected with the people. I still am in touch with pupils years later who are now married and have kids, and it's wonderful to see. So I've always had this drive to help, as I said earlier on. I feel, ironically, coaching has given me a voice. Although as a coach, we don't guide, we don't give advice. It's led by the client, but I think anybody coming to me, because my niche is mental health and well-being, I know and I hope that anybody coming to me as a client will know that I've walked that road, because the people that I will work with won't be the depressed Ruth. They won't be the end of life Ruth. They may be people who have come through a difficult time, have had a battle, whatever their story may be, but they're now in a place where they want to achieve their goals and their dreams, and they want to live this wonderful life. And I am honoured to be a part of that. I actually, Sharon and everybody else, I actually cannot believe that I'm going to do this for a living. I don't even feel, I used to say this when I was teaching driving. I used to say to my pupils, I don't even feel like I'm at work. I have so much fun in my car, out in the sunshine, having a laugh, watching these people progress with their lives. And now here comes this other incredible job, which is even better in my eyes. And I get to do this every day for the rest of my life, as long as I can. I think that's just amazing.
Certainly is. It certainly is. And you know, we don't feel we're at work, do we, when we're coaching? So what is it like then to study with us at the Coaching Academy? You can tell all. What's it like?
I love, there's nothing I don't like about the Coaching Academy. I find all you guys that are training or are thinking about, I love the community. I've come across people all over the world that I've connected with, and it's so nice to be around like-minded people who really genuinely care about others, who actually listen to what you've got to say. I had a bit of a rocky start in my studies. I'm in full flow now. I think I made a huge mistake and didn't coach from the beginning, because I thought I needed to understand it a bit more. I needed the theory side. Big mistake. If you're at the beginning, throw yourself in. Just go and do it, because I have learned so much from coaching with people who aren't trainee coaches. from people who are qualified, people who are at the same stage as me. I love everything. I think the Coaching Academy, speaks for itself. If you just look back over the history and the success and the people that, I've connected with people who have qualified over the years, and they've gone on to amazing things, and that is wonderful. And coaching for me has I thought I was a great listener. I wasn't a great listener. I was an okay listener, because every time I spoke to somebody, I always had my sentence ready to give back to them. And only now, through the coaching process and working with the Coaching Academy, do I really fully start to understand the depth at which we can listen to people, and how important it is to give everybody that platform, that 5, 10, 15 minutes where they get to just speak. And you don't have to say anything. Ruth doesn't have to tell them about the charity walk or the depression or any of that, because that's my story, and that's not for me to share. And that's a beautiful gift that the Coaching Academy and coaching has given to me.
It's great, isn't it? Because I think this is a generalization. Is it a generalization? Maybe it's not. I think that it is a great gift that we as coaches give to others, to give people that safe psychological space. We create that psychological space of safety for people to really feel heard. And it is one of our deepest needs as human beings. And, and I really do think that with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, and, we're all in our own personal journeys and our own personal stories. And, we all have that, sort of that story of our own lives. We all have that deep inner desire to feel really heard, seen, but really heard. And to be able to give that gift to somebody, to feel really listened to in a place that, they know that they're not being judged. I think it gives us an incredible privilege as coaches to potentially give our clients the opportunity to perhaps share something with us that potentially they would never share with anyone else, for fear of that judgment, I guess. And that, to me, is something I think as coaches, we can never underestimate how powerful, that gift is that we can give to others.
Absolutely, Sharon. Yeah, gifts are a beautiful word that conjures up a lovely image in my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've, everything that you've experienced, and thank you for sharing so openly and honestly. And I knew that that you were very happy to do so. There's been highs, there's been lows. What's been the sort of like the sort of the high point in your journey to be a coach so far?
I think I've probably got a few. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Keep it simple, Ruth. So I think the 2-day free introductory course, which I did in Oxford before COVID, that's how roller coaster my journey has been, will live in my memory forever, because I met and still am in touch with people who were there. I actually got a chance to share my story that day, because the guy that I was paired up coaching with, when Anne Skidmore said, "Is there anybody who would like to nominate somebody to share their story?" The guy that I was with, Nigel, said, "Yeah, Ruth." And I actually did like that, because I connected with people through that as well. The highlight, I think, has entering into this process knowing that I would love this and that this was for me, but actually now on a totally different level, knowing that this is possibly one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And I have done quite a few things that were amazing, but this is just, I can't even begin to express how excited I am about just even the training. I know I'm going to set up a little business. I've got an Instagram page running. I can envision the future. I know where I'd like to go. but I'm loving just the training. So that, and I have to also say, one of the highlights, because this wonderful lady, apart from you, Sharon, because you were one of the very first people I connected with, the beautiful Bev James is the most incredibly, delightfully kind, understanding human being I have ever met in my life. And she just oozes passion for what she does, and that inspires me. And I have to just tell you how the very first conversation Bev and I had was about my pants, because I know people will find this funny. On Instagram, when I'd lost the weight, I shared a picture of my big pants that I didn't like to hang out the washing line, and my lovely tiny little pants that I was now wearing. So I had the big pants at the back and the little pants at the front, and I posted it on my page, and I think Joe shared it, and Bev wrote something, and that was my first connection. And I will never forget the way that I connected with Bev was over my pants. So yeah, I think that's probably and the wonderful people that I've met so far.
Brilliant. Well, there's not many people that can say that they showed Bev James their pants.
Oh, that's probably true. Maybe that's a good thing.
Well, you were talking about envisaging yourself, with your business and stuff, and it sort of connects quite nicely, strangely, to the what we're celebrating this week, which is all about the power of coaching, but in particular reimagine the future. Mm-hmm. And what you've shared so much, sort of resonates so much for that theme, but in lots of ways. So if you don't mind me asking, what would you tell your pre-coach self?
Oh, so before. Well, I've got a version that I won't share with you on here, because it's probably rude and there's a lot of bad language in it, because sometimes I could shake myself. What would I tell Ruth before this? I would tell Ruth that she needs to remember for the rest of her life that she turns up for herself and nobody else. Every day, she is responsible for her actions. She's not in competition with anybody. This is about her life and her journey and everything that she's going to go through. And for me, happiness will always be the most important thing in my life. I don't care if I have to be, I do care, of course I care. I don't care if I have to be overweight for the rest of my life. That is something I can live with. My depression, I believe, is gone, or have I got a way of managing it? For me, as long as I am happy and I can laugh every day, then I've got a great life. And I just need to remember that actually the simple things in life are the most valuable. And one last thing, I would also tell Ruth that she needs to remember that she is very determined, very stubborn, which doesn't always work in my favour, but it does sometimes. And I'm born on the 4th of July, and I am fiercely independent. And I believe that that independence is what has seen me succeed in everything that I have tried. And I have failed. I have failed at lots of things, but I've learned so much. And it's what will see the Ruth succeed in the future.
Fantastic. Love that. And so many parallels there. And let's jump into the future, reimagining the future. Mm-hmm. So where do you see yourself, Ruth, in, I don't know, 5-10 years time?
So I hope to qualify as a coach this year. I will qualify as a coach this year. I am going to set up a business, Ruth Webster Coaching. And I want to enjoy that moment for a few years. I want to work on a one-to-one basis, and I want to allow myself time to just get to grips with the journey after qualifying as coaching, because I know you'll know this. I just feel it's a never-ending journey. There's going to always be stuff to learn about coaching and connecting with people. So I want to enjoy that for a little while, but I actually see myself working on a bigger scale. I like the intimacy of having a little business, but I feel I have a story that not to make me feel good, a story that needs to be shared. And I think it's important that it's shared. And I will grasp at every platform that I can to share that story. And I would like to work on a bigger field. If it is in business, corporate, I don't know what it is. But, and this makes, see, I would have struggled saying this. I would have felt that I was being big-headed and conceited and people would have judged me before coaching. I don't feel that now around what I'm about to say. I want to stand in a room filled with thousands of people and share my story, because I know that there will be people in there that something will resonate with, and it will help them take the first steps forward in changing their life. So that's what I see projecting forward for me.
Wonderful. Wow, so powerful. I have no doubt that you will achieve that. You know, and you know, you live so authentically with your, you know, with your truth, in your values, in your beliefs. You know, it's sort of all there. If people do want to connect with you, where can they find you on socials?
I am, well, I'll give you the easy one first of all. So I am at Ruth Webster Coaching. And I'd love you to come and connect, because I love chatting with people. I'm always interactive with people on my Instagram page. But the one that I started off back in 2015 was Charlie Roof, because I had a cat called Chaz. His name was Charlie, and my nickname was Ruth. So it's Charlie, CHARLIE ROOF is my Instagram.
Brilliant, fantastic, very powerful story. And you know, looking at the chat box there, I think you're going to have a lot of people standing in that room on that day when you're talking to loads of people for the first time. We'll all be there cheering you on from the side there.
Sharon, can I interrupt? Will these messages be saved anywhere?
Yeah, we can save those for you. Yeah.
I would love to, because I hate that I can't read them back. Thank you to everybody that's written something. I will read them all. Thank you.
Fantastic. The chat box has been going crazy, so it's just fantastic. There's just so much there. Yeah, brilliant. Oh, they're all coming in, all the hearts and everything. It's fantastic.
See them now. Thank you.
See, everybody, I knew you'd find this one inspiring. It's a bit different, isn't it? So have to trust Sharon to know what you know, bring something a little bit nice and inspiring. Ruth, we're coming to the end of our time together for our sort of shorter versions of coaching conversations this week. But I want to ask you a couple of final questions. Now, I know that, you know, back in your sort of throughout your life, that you've always been passionate about music. You've shared with me that you've sung in a band and you used to be a dancer. So I know that creative side is there within you. You've also shared with me that one of your go-tos has always been music, you know, to sort of as a tool to support one of sort of many things, really. So I'm going to ask you two music related questions.
Okay.
That's all right. So you have very openly and honestly and graciously shared your personal story. If you had to choose a song that you would say is the soundtrack to your life, what would you choose and why?
I think, I've got this. I think the song that sums up my life is This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. Because I think over the last whatever many years, I have learnt to unapologetically be me. And I know I'm a much, much stronger person for that. No tears. Did well with that one.
You did. And do you know the from that, because that's a song that always gives me goosebumps, and I always remember that line: I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be, this is me. And that to me sums you up. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm glad you chose that. That is definitely a very powerful song. I think it's the right choice. Let's have a think about you as a coach. What song would you say describes you as a coach?
I think probably Firework by Katy Perry. There's a line in that song, which is, I think, if I'm right in saying, it says, you just got to ignite the light and let it shine just on the night, like the 4th of July, which I was born on. So that rings a bell. But I also believe that that song for me would speak about everybody that I want to work with, everybody that comes to me, because I do believe we are all so unique and all so special, and also we all have the right to live a life that makes us happy. And I think every single person at some point in their life deserves the right to be heard.
So powerful. I'm going to go goosebumpy again. You keep doing that to me. I'm going goosebumpy again. Oh, fantastic. Wonderful. Well, I think that is the perfect place to finish on, actually. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. And if you're interested in finding out more about becoming a life coach, you can attend one of our free Introduction to Life Coaching webinars. A link to that is in the description below.